Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please start with a roll call.
Council President McIrvin.
Here.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Here.
Councilmember Rivera. I saw she's trying.
Here.
Okay. Councilmember Albertson. I don't think he's logged in yet. Councilmember Vaughn.
Here.
Councilmember Perez.
Here.
And Councilmember Prince.
Here.
Roll call, one absent, Mr. Mayor, but he was at the Cal meeting, so I'm assuming he'll be joining us.
I see him in the audience. Oh,
Okay.
He may not know that he needs to be promoted. There we go. Nope,
Yes,
he's there.
apologies. My computer decided to stall on me. Forgive me.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we're all here tonight. Thank you. We're going to start off with the administrative report.
All right, good evening, everyone. On January 5th, 8th, 14th, and 15th, the Solid Waste Utility Division, working with Republic Services, provided garbage drop-off events for customers who did not have solid waste pickup due to the last week of December snowstorm and the Republic Services strike on January 12th through the 15th. These drop-off events collected over 50 tons of garbage and served over 1,900 customers. The snowstorm and the driver strike prevented regular solid waste collection by Republic Services, but those collections were recovered by Friday, January 21st. For any customers whose collections have been missed and have not yet been collected by Republic Services, please contact Republic Services at 206-777-6440. Renton History Museum has received a grant of $13,000 from the Etta and Teresa Potsabon Fund, Renton Regional Community Foundation, which supports immigrant women and children in the greater Renton area. The Potsabons were twin sisters of Italian descent and lifetime Renton residents whose parents were both Italian immigrants. This grant supports Renton History Museum's research and programming around the rich history of immigration and refugees in Renton history. This includes a recent exhibit of refugee portraits, When You Can't Go Home, and research into American-born women expatriated in the 1920s through the 1940s after marrying immigrant men. The museum is a joint project of the Renton Historical Society, an educational 501c3 in the city of Renton. Information about preventative street maintenance, traffic impact projects, and road closures happening this week can be found at rentonlaw.gov/traffic. All projects are weather permitting, and unless otherwise noted, streets will always remain open. That is the report.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll open up the remote audience comment period. It remains the strong intent of the city to have public comment regularly included on our agendas. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to speak. You'll be called upon by a city staff member. The staff member will call the speaker's name and unmute the appropriate microphone, which will send an automatic prompt to the speaker of, "You've been unmuted." This is the speaker's queue that's their turn to speak. Please begin your comments by stating your name, city of residence, and the topic you're addressing. Speakers should be able to see a timer on the screen. Please finish up your comments when you see the time is close to expiring. And we do have a few people signed up tonight.
Mr. Mayor, the first person to speak is Ian Taylor. Ian, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ian Taylor. I'm a resident of Renton, and I am a member of the Renton Group of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. That organization is a group of mothers and others. I am one of the others. We're responding to the December 17th statement issued by the mayors of Auburn, Federal Way, Kent, and Renton, following their meeting with the King County Executive, the prosecutor, and their senior staff. And at that meeting, the mayors learned of the Restorative Community Pathways Diversion Program, RCP, that the King County Prosecutor's Office had implemented in November. And in that memo, the mayors call on the King County leadership to immediately pause this program and engage in further conversation. So we applaud the mayors for their proactive engagement with the county leadership about rising crime rates. We applaud the mayors for seeking further conversation with county leadership concerning RCP. However, we also wholeheartedly support the Restorative Community Pathways program, and we do not want to see it paused, and here's why. The juveniles in South King County who commit criminal acts are, more often than not, themselves victims of adverse childhood experiences, systemic racism, poverty. They have been neglected by the adults in their lives and sometimes subjected to trauma no one should ever have to experience, least of all a child. The juveniles in South King County whose crime involve firearms are themselves, in our views, victims of US society's failure to manage its gun violence problem. For the last several decades, the gun lobby has pushed a guns everywhere policy and opposed all and any common sense efforts to limit gun ownership. And we can see the results all too clearly. 14-year-olds with 9mm handguns, too many firearms in irresponsible hands, inadequate restrictions on firearm ownership, theft of unsafely stored guns, insufficient penalties for unsafe storage, and on and on. Personally, I first learned of the mayor's bulletin from a social media post which was headlined, "King County Prosecutor is risking our safety." And we can certainly understand the fear that crime in the community generates, especially violent crime, and how that fear can lead some to call for severe penalties, long sentences, and no opportunities for redemption for the children involved. And of course, everyone wants to feel safe. A sense of safety in your community is a signal characteristic of civil society. And we support all measures designed to support and nurture civil society through the growth of responsible citizens. And we feel that the Restorative Community Pathways program is exactly such a measure. So we do not agree with the statement that failure to prosecute felony crimes is taking King County in the wrong direction. We think that distinction is too crude. To automatically prosecute all juvenile felonies would consign too many young people to a life tangled up with the juvenile crime system, which is a system which too often punishes and taints, but fails to rehabilitate those young people. We do agree with the mayor's statement that we can find a balance between restorative justice, which I know you support, and the safety of their communities. And we are certainly not suggesting that all juveniles who commit crimes in our cities are suitable candidates for diversion into RCP. That's a judgment that should rest with informed, skilled, and thoughtful people who are guided by established criteria that allow them to take into account all of the circumstances surrounding the crime and the perpetrator. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Thanks to you, Mayor Pavone, and all council members for your public service and for your active engagement in our democratic institutions, which we treasure. Thank you for the new Equity, Housing and Human Services Department and the upcoming Equity Commission. You're taking Renton in the right direction. Thank you again.
The next person we have is Leo Floor. Leo, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Leo Floor, and I'm here speaking as the Department Director for King County's Department of Community and Human Services, and commenting on the resolution that the council will consider this evening, Resolution 4461. Mr. Mayor, council members, I wanted to start by thanking you. We are at an important juncture as we move forward with the Health Through Housing program. And it is a really happy moment at King County, as I can say that we have had an extraordinary partnership with leaders and staff at the city of Renton over the last year as we've conceptualized and now I think moved forward and stand with the council's consideration of this resolution tonight, ready to take the next step, not only to house people, but to prove that cities in the county actually agree on a lot as we go forward, and that we can have the conversations that put us in a position to be able to move forward together in a way that meets both the needs of the city and people who will live around a permanent supportive housing location, and then certainly the needs of the folks who will be housed. We can look at what's happened throughout our community over the last 2 years and recognize the importance of housing, what it does for people, and how much we have to stretch and help people who don't have housing when things like smoke, ice, pandemics come to happen. And so I'm really excited to be at this point. I also want to just stay here and restate King County's strong commitment to being a good neighbor and to being a better neighbor over time as we move forward with this facility. I appreciate that the city has been very clear about what's important and necessary for you to feel comfortable with this permanent supportive housing location through Help Through Housing. And it's our pleasure to be able to propose plans that meet those needs, but more importantly, to remain engaged as we go forward so that when or if there are issues, we're able to work them out quickly, proactively, and focus on keeping folks housed. And then the last thing just to state is unequivocally, right now, this is the only Help Through Housing project that we're pursuing in the city of Renton. If we were to move forward, that'd be a conversation with the city, and it would start by approaching city leadership and having a conversation about another site. But there are no other Help Through Housing sites that we seek in the city. And as part of the overall agreement that has brought us to this point, we remain committed to ending the current temporary de-intensification shelter that is operating at the former Red Lion Hotel. We have had the ability so far to have about the first 100 folks move out of that facility and look forward to finding their permanent home in another Help Through Housing city that will be in another city going forward this year. So thank you for your leadership, for your partnership. We're excited to be at this point, and I look forward to the council's consideration of resolution 4461. Thank you.
The next person we have is Laura Meyer. Laura, go ahead.
Thank you to the council and to Mayor Pavone for allowing me to speak. My name is Laura Meyer, and I am a resident of Renton, have been for about 10 years and been a resident of King County for 14 years. I am also a member of the Renton chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, and I am here to voice my support for the Restorative Community Pathways program that King County implemented. I think this program looks at the criminal justice system and how we can interrupt the school to prison pipeline in a more holistic approach. I have been privy to hear from some young men who were in the programs that Community Passageways and Choose 180 provide. And these young men were on a pathway to prison. They were going to be in the system that their community members were in, that the adults in their lives were in, and Community Pathways stepped in and interjected. And what I heard from these gentlemen was they were finally with adults that were respecting them, valuing them, and they were being shown that there were opportunities available to them for them to step out of a life of crime, to get out of their communities and be productive. One young man now runs his own business and knows that if it weren't for a program like Community Pathways, he would not be in this position. I think we need to take a more holistic approach to crime prevention in our communities. And it needs to be, we are addressing the communities that are underserved, that are underprivileged. We need to address housing insecurities. We need to address food insecurities. We need to address, but I think it needs to be a holistic approach. And this is going to do it one individual at a time while we work to figure out how we can do it on a community level. I hope that the mayor can reassess his concern for this program, and maybe we can look at what some of the successes are in programs like this, in violence intervention programs like this, can provide for our community. I have young children in this school system, but I do believe that we can do more for the children in our school, prevent violent crimes in our school, but do it without sending juveniles to prison. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
The next person we have is Andrew Lana. Andrew, go ahead.
I am.
Andrew, are you there?
Hi, yes, sorry.
I believe the timer needs to be reset.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Sweet, sorry. I'm Andrew. I'm a resident of Renton and a student at Hazen High School. I wanted to briefly highlight the robotics programs that we have in Renton School Districts and talk about why they're so important to education here. My team at Hazen High School competes through First Robotics in a competition called First Tech Challenge. First Robotics is a global organization of robotics competitions that encompasses all age groups from like 4 or 5 years old up to through high school and large competitions in high school, as well as outreach for college students. First Robotics provides students with an opportunity to participate on engineering teams in a competitive environment and learn lots of career skills that they will bring with them into careers, into college, and through the rest of their lives. For me, this has included skills used right here in Renton at Boeing, like CNC machining, computer-aided design, and then a huge collection of programming skills. What makes First Robotics unique is that it's, for the most part, a student-led organization. So student leaders on teams are responsible for organizing and leading their own teams, giving us all really valuable project management experience that we'll take into our careers. In addition, First heavily emphasizes outreach in our communities. My team has focused on kind of expanding First in Renton and have brought a team to McKnight Middle School and are exploring ways we could bring programs to elementary schools. So aside from just highlighting First Robotics, I'd like to first thank the council for the gracious support of Renton Schools for our program. We're funded mostly through Renton CTE, and their funding has been pivotal in allowing us to compete at state and learn all of these important skills, but also to ask for continued support, especially in finding ways to increase these opportunities in robotics and in other STEM fields throughout education, particularly in elementary schools, because I believe that being able to experience STEM in such an exciting manner that a robotics competition provides is really important for building those passions at a younger age. Thank you for giving me time to speak.
That is all I have, Ms.
Is that everybody that was signed up?
Yeah, yes, we did have one more person, Era Pogosova Agajanyan, but I don't see Era in attendance tonight.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So before we move on, I'd like to address the council. We had a couple of folks commenting on the mayor's statement about restorative community pathways. And what I want to express is we definitely agree with that strategy. We think it's the right pathway. Our concerns with the program was it was done without any input or any knowledge of any of the mayors, and without any input or any knowledge of the police department or the chiefs. And so I think for a program like that to be successful, it's going to need to have all of the partners on the same page. And so our effort was to really get him in tune with the county and with the prosecutor. So with that, I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. We have 6 items for council consideration. Is there any items that council would like pulled for separate consideration?
Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Council President McGurven, second by Councilmember Prince, that the consent agenda be approved as published. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. All right, on to unfinished business. Council President McGurven.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the committee of the whole has one committee report to present.
Hey, Committee of the Whole Committee report. Operating and sub-operating lease agreements for the Family First Community Center. The Committee of the Whole recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to execute the operating agreement between the Renton School District and the City of Renton and the sub-operating agreement between Health Point and the City of Renton for the programming and operation of the Family First Community Center upon completion of construction.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember McGurven.
Yes, I move that the council concur with the Committee of the Whole committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President McGurven, seconded by Councilmember Prince, that the council concur with the Committee of the Whole report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay. Next is Councilmember O'Halloran.
Didn't we have
Yes,
another
Mr.
one? Oh, sorry about that.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember O'Halloran.
the Finance Committee has 7 committee reports this evening.
Okay. First is approval of claims and payroll vouchers. The Finance Committee approves the following payments. Total payment of $15,436,149 even for a number of vouchers and payroll benefit withholding vouchers and 4 wire transfers. Payroll, a total payment of $1,654,834.22 for payroll vouchers, including 597 direct deposits and 3 checks. This is the December 16th through 31st, 2021 pay period. And then municipal court vouchers totaling $18,353.10.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move council concur with the Finance Committee committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Perez, that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, the next report is regarding the Housing Action Plan Implementation Grant. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve a resolution to enter into an interagency agreement with the Washington State Department of Commerce Growth Management Services for the Housing Action Plan Implementation Grant to implement an existing housing action plan and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement in substantially the same form.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move the council concur with the Finance Committee committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Perez, that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, the next report is regarding a grant for the Renton Trail Connector Project. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the execution of the grant agreement with the Department of Commerce to accept the $490,000 in grant funds and apply them toward the Renton Trail Connector Project.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move the council concur with the Finance Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, seconded by Councilmember Perez. The council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, the next report is regarding an agreement with Main Street Renton doing business as the Renton Downtown Partnership. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the contract agreement with Main Street Renton doing business of Renton Downtown Partnership in the amount of $260,000 to support efforts to apply and obtain the designation as a Washington State Main Street community.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move the council concur with the Finance Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, seconded by Councilmember Perez, that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, the next is regarding a grant for the courts. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the Renton Municipal Court to enter into a 2-year grant agreement with the Administrative Office of the Courts to support the functions of the Renton Municipal Community Court Coordinator and for additional support services of the Renton Community Court.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Halloran.
I move the council concur with the Finance Committee report.
second,
It's been moved by Councilmember Halloran, second by Councilmember Perez, that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, the next is regarding the contract award for the Family First Community Center construction project. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to award the Family First Community Center construction contract, CAG 21180, to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Comer GC Incorporated, in the amount of $12,474,330. Sealed bids for the project were opened on December 8th, 2021. The bid opening met the following council criteria. There's more than one bid submitted. The lowest responsive and responsible bid was within the proposed project budget, and there were no irregularities with the lowest responsive and responsible bid. The committee further recommends that 1, the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the construction contract with Comer GC Inc. after related lease agreements with the Renton School District are executed, and 2, additional appropriations for the Family First Community Center project in the amount of $12,532,837 be approved and appropriated in the Q1 2022 carry forward budget adjustment.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Halloran.
I move the council concur with the committee report.
second,
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Perez, that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And the final report is for another construction contract, the Highlands to Landing Pedestrian Lighting Phase 2 contract award. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the award of bid for the Highlands to Landings Pedestrian Lighting Project Phase 2 to Colvico Incorporated in the amount of $330,490.83 and to authorize the transfer of $190,292 from 317 fund balance to project account construction at the 2022 Q1 budget adjustment.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Halloran.
I move the council concur with the Finance Committee report.
second,
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Perez, that the council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, we are on to Councilmember Rivera.
No new business, Mr. Mayor. Or no unfinished business, Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Councilmember Albertson.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Van.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Perez.
no unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
And Councilmember Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we're on to legislation. We have 2 resolutions and 1 ordinance for adoption.
Okay, the first resolution is regarding the Housing Action Plan grant. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Washington State Department of Commerce for a Housing Action Plan implementation grant to implement an existing housing action plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move the resolution be adopted as read.
Second,
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Perez, that the resolution be adopted as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, the next resolution is regarding a development agreement with King County for permanent supportive housing. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a development agreement between the City of Renton and King County, a Washington Home Rule Charter County, for a permanent supportive housing site on Oakdale Avenue Southwest.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Council President McGurven.
I move the resolution be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President McGurven, seconded by Councilmember Prince, that the resolution be adopted as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, the final piece of legislation is an ordinance for second and final reading, and it's regarding the solid waste revenue and fund requirements. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Section 8110 of the Renton Municipal Code, establishing the solid waste collection services rates starting April 1st, 2022 for all customer classes, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Albertson.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember, wait, hold on. This is second and final reading, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
It
sir.
requires a roll call.
Oh, yes. So Council President McGurven,
Aye.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera,
Aye.
Councilmember Albertson,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn,
Aye.
Councilmember Perez,
Aye.
and Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
All right, motion carries. We are on to new business. Council President McGurven.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of future meetings to announce. The first is one that we're not meeting, which is next Monday, the 31st, and that's because it is a fifth Monday, so there will be no meetings that day. And then the Committee of the Whole will meet on Monday, February 7th at 6 p.m. via video conference. There's one item on the agenda, that's the CED 2021 year-end review, and then we will convene as a full council at 7 p.m. Via video conference. And that is all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Halloran.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Rivera.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Community Services Committee will meet via video conference on February 1st at 4:30 p.m. and we'll be discussing bond project updates.
Thank you. Councilmember Albertson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Utilities Committee will be meeting via video conference on February 1st at 3:30. There are two items on the agenda. One is a BHC Consultants Agreement for design of the Windsor Hills Utility Improvement Project and emerging issues in utilities.
Thank you. Councilmember Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to announce that the Transportation Committee its meeting for February 1st, 2022 is canceled. So thank you. And I also want to just thank our community members for all those who commented today and letting us know your concerns. So thank you.
Councilmember Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Safety Committee will meet via video conference on February 7, 2022 at 5 p.m. We have two items on the agenda: current DII initiatives and emerging issues in public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor. No new
All
business.
right. No new business. Okay. What's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Council President McGurven, that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
Good evening,
In a
everyone.
couple weeks.